Young Construction has been Iowa's roofing leader for over 20 years. We haven't just been nailing roofs, we've been giving back, growing relationships, constantly learning, and building a reputation as your home exterior experts.
Your home exterior experts. Call on Young Construction.
So we're doing this today, and a lot of this has to do with something that we've both seen coming up on a Derecho. A lot of people's policies are coming to a point where they got to make a decision, and we both seen the same thing. A lot of what we're seeing is people misspeaking or not knowing or not being educated to talk about a claim.
Right.
Or the people that were left behind thinking, I have 1 year and it's over and I got to make a decision, and being rushed to take a settlement, in my opinion, on some of them when they shouldn't. So it was my idea for me and you to connect and reach out, have a discussion somewhat with somebody that actually knows a little bit more about the policies, about what's going on with this.
Yeah, so my name's Caden Tinklenberg. I'm the president and CEO of Swift Public Adjusters. We're an Iowa-based public adjusting firm. We've been around for a couple years now, helping both residential and commercial policyholders recover from their losses.
And as I said before, my name's Dan Young. I own Young Construction. When Derecho hit up here, we had a location in Waverly, and we have a location in Mason City, Iowa, and we're licensed up in Minnesota. And we were already working here, so when Derecho hit, it was complete chaos here, as many of you guys know that. It was insane, and that's when we met.
Yep.
It was a good meeting too, because when this occurs, just like the homeowners, you meet hundreds of contractors. We, contractors, meet hundreds of adjusters. And
Yep.
just like you would look for a contractor that you trust, I, as a contractor, would also look to work with someone I trust, which a lot of what Caden has done is stuff that I respect. I've seen a lot of good stuff coming from Caden to help people.
Thank you.
You can be profitable and still help people. It's one of the things that you'll see, and a lot of people that I believe came here are no longer here.
Most.
An investment in the community shouldn't just be somebody that comes and takes your money and then they go away and then you don't see them again. And the prime example here is that there's a lot of people, right, that you are just getting around to helping.
Yeah.
Their claims.
Yep.
And I guess, explain what a public adjuster is.
Yeah, so a public adjuster is a type of adjuster. Generally speaking, there's three types of adjusters. There's staff or company adjusters that work for the insurance company that actually provides the policy of insurance. There's independent adjusters who work on a contract temporary basis for insurance companies. Another name for independent adjusters is commonly called CAT, or catastrophe adjusters. They often are deployed following a catastrophe, as the name implies, to go and help with the very sudden influx of claims. Both those adjusters obviously work for the insurance company. However, on the policyholder side of things, on the insured, the homeowner, they can hire their own adjuster, and that's called a public adjuster. And so what we do as public adjusters is we go out just like any other type of adjuster would and inspect the property that the loss occurred at. We document the damage. We put that damage into a format that is easily explainable and shareable and digestible by the insurance company. We gather any other supporting documentation for the loss, whether that be an engineering report for any structural issues, do any lead or asbestos testing of the materials that are affected, and then we put all of that information into an estimate of what we believe the loss is, or at least what the cost to repair the loss is, and submit that to the insurance company, generally with a proof of loss, which is a sworn document that policyholders get notarized that attests to what their losses are. And in doing all of that, we fulfill the insured's obligations under the policy post-loss, their post-loss obligations, their duties, which are to present to their insurance company what they feel their claims are. And that then switches the burden to the insurance company to evaluate and investigate those claims that are made by the policyholder through us and determine whether or not the policy provides coverage, make sure that everything presented is accurate, and in theory, pay the claim as they should. Unfortunately, a lot of times after we've fulfilled those obligations, the insurance company wrongfully delays or denies or underpays that claim, and we're forced into a situation where we have to try to negotiate with the insurance company to convince them to pay the claim as they should. And sometimes we're successful, sometimes we're not. When we're not, we have to pursue other types of dispute resolution, the most common of which is appraisal, and in worst case scenarios, litigation, or at least referring to legal, to lawyers for them to attempt to negotiate is something that happens far too commonly, in my opinion.
And what you're talking about there is, and why that's so important, is as a contractor,
Yep.
We're not allowed to deal with policy.
At least not in Iowa.
At least not in Iowa.
Yeah.
And so some of you homeowners and some of the people that are out there, some of you other contractors, you have to know what you can do and what you cannot do legally. You could put the homeowner in a bad situation.
Right.
I'm here to provide a service to the homeowner. That's my job, and that's his job. Essentially, if you can meet in the middle, and we were just talking, and I don't mean to, if you can avoid going to litigation or any of that, that's the best way to do this. We both agree to that. However, if you have to do something more to get your claim adjusted, settled,
Yep.
then knowing who your public adjuster is and someone you can trust is critical. It's no different than when you pick a contractor that you trust to do a quality job. You want to pick a public adjuster that you trust that's looking out for your best interest and not just theirs.
Right.
One of the things I like to make sure that the homeowner's aware of is I see a lot of people talk about, it's the end of the time. I have to get this done. And what bothers me a little bit about that, quite a bit, is that I don't think you should ever be rushed. You should talk to somebody that's at least knowledgeable enough. Not all policies are the same, correct?
Definitely. Yeah.
And so just because one insurance company has one deadline doesn't mean, and what's in your policy, and maybe you can touch on that, what's on what we were just talking about earlier, about what can be in a policy to affect the time limit that's coming up, by the way. It is. There's some
Yep.
limits coming up on Derecho,
Yep.
and then there was hail before Derecho, and there'll be limits coming up on that, and that's part of the reason we did this podcast, is I wanted to bring Caden in and get some true answers out there for the people that may be getting a little nervous.
Yeah. So to touch a little bit on that, in the state of Iowa, each insurance policy will contain certain deadlines for different activities that need to take place throughout the lifespan of a claim. And Iowa is one of the states where there aren't any separate statutory timelines that would supersede or overrule the policy. So in the state of Iowa, whatever's in your policy, generally speaking, is the rule of law. And so what that means is whatever the deadlines, the timelines in your policy are, that is what needs to be followed. And so there's two main timelines that are most pertinent and what most people are discussing and which are often conflated. And so the first of those is the statute of limitations on filing suit against your insurance company. And the timeline for that is going to be found in the conditions section of your policy, the conditions section of the property coverage portion. Generally, that's going to be somewhere around page 15 or 16 of your policy. And that is a small paragraph, and it's generally headed with something along the lines of suit against us, or lawsuit against us, or legal action against us, something along those lines. And it's going to be 2 or 3 sentences that basically says, in effect, no legal action may be brought against us being the insurance company, without the insured first fulfilling all of their obligations and duties under the policy, and second, having that action be brought within a certain number of, a certain timeline, which for most policies in Iowa is going to be 1 or 2 years. And that's the first deadline. The second deadline is how long you have to recover any recoverable depreciation that may be due under the policy. And the wording in policies are a little bit different on this issue. Some read that you have X number of days to notify the insurance company that you intend on recovering depreciation, whereas other policies say you have X number of days to actually complete the work and recover that depreciation. So depending on your policy and how that reads can sort of dictate what might satisfy a satisfactory response to that issue. And those timelines are generally going to be between 180 days up to, at most, the longest I've seen is 2 years on most State Farm policies. And the issue with these two deadlines is that they're often conflated, and policyholders will mistakenly believe that they're getting an extension on one of these timelines when the insurance company is actually only extending the other timeline. And insurance companies are generally very willing to extend the deadline to recover depreciation. As you know, as a contractor, that's really important that you guys are able to, after you get the work done, make sure that the
having the time to do it.
Right, gets paid in full when you do it, so that you don't have to file a lien or something like that in order to get paid. But insurance companies and their adjusters won't be completely upfront and clear about which of these deadlines they're extending, and neither do a lot of policyholders make that request clear. A lot of times people will ask, I need more time on my claim, right? I need you to extend my claim. Will you grant me an extension? And the insurance company will say, sure, we'll grant you an extension on how long you have to complete your claim. And what that really means is that's an extension on the recoverable depreciation timeline, but not necessarily on the statute of limitations for filing suit. And so what we're anticipating is that there's going to be a lot of policyholders out there who have been misled by insurance adjusters misrepresenting, and not just adjusters, but also other policyholders, in the community, even agents, not having a full understanding or not being specific enough, or in some cases, unfortunately, being intentionally misleading about what deadline's being extended. And come a few months down the road here, when these claims are still not resolved and all the options have been exhausted for resolving these issues and it has to go to an attorney, a lot of these insureds are going to find out that they actually didn't secure an extension on that statute of limitations on filing suit, and they're going to be left out in the cold, both figuratively and literally, unfortunately, for some people.
And the worst part, financially.
Exactly.
Because then they're going to have to cover the cost. And one of our topics here is how can, one of the questions I have was, how can a contractor work with a public adjuster? And I know the answer to that. And it's nice when we don't have to do this, when it doesn't have to become that. And I have in-house, what's called in-house supplementing. I have people that are able to look at the claim, and if the claim's fair, everything's good, we'll put the homeowner back to where they need to be, and everybody's happy, the homeowner and us, and we do this. The reason for this today is because I want people to understand that, we're coming up to some deadlines here.
Yep.
And when this occurs, you want to have not only a good contractor picked out, but you need a contractor that's going to be able to work with somebody if it goes not the way you want it to go. You want to be prepared, not just somebody that can put a roof on, but somebody that can help you. And that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to make people aware. And you touched a little bit on the behavior of the carriers. What's that been since Derecho hit? Just touch briefly on how's it been with the insurance companies? Some of them have been good. I'll be honest. We've had some good carriers, but I know you touch on the ones that aren't as good.
Yeah, I think the most recent insurance bulletin said that carriers in the state of Iowa had paid out in aggregate, I believe it was $3 billion that's with a B, billion, for derecho damages, which is better than zero, right? So they are doing their job. There's no one out here that's going to claim that insurance companies have completely dropped the ball. This is a extremely stressful event for them. Another thing that's mentioned in that bulletin is that a lot of carriers have discussed with the insurance division how difficult it's been to get adjusters that could come out and adjust these claims on these carriers' behalf. And I think that resulted in some desperation on the carrier's part to find adjusters that were able to inspect these properties within the amount of time that they're allotted by law to do so. And what ended up happening was that quantity of adjusters became more important than the quality of the adjusters, and a lot of unprepared and uneducated adjusters ended up being deployed to Iowa.
The same thing happened with contractors.
Yep.
A lot of contractors came here, and just like the public adjusters, there was a ton of public adjusters, and when you look around now, a lot of them, what I call it, the low-hanging fruit. They came to get paid, and I'm not trying to pick on people, but there's a lot of good people out there. But it's not amazing to me at all that right now so many people left. Public adjusters, contractors, because they got that quick low-hanging fruit, and now they're gone. And here we are, and I'm fine with that. I believe you help the homeowner, and one of the reasons for this also is maybe to educate the contractors too. One of the things that we had discussed is, how as a contractor do you not cross the line? Because crossing the line of helping a homeowner, supplementing a claim versus, giving legal advice, which would be horrifying. I would never do that.
Yeah, it's a gray continuum.
It is. It always has been, isn't it?
And my personal views on that do not necessarily match up with what the current precedent is, right? The current climate. And I think the best place to go to look to get answers for that is the Iowa Insurance Division, as they are the regulatory body that has, been enforcing that. Just
like you said, you'll have so many of them, I'm sure you do too, that went pretty good, not bad, and then you have a few where it's like they need to help the homeowner. And that's one thing that I was interested in doing this with you, because we have both seen as part of our groups people that got left completely out in the cold. Those are the ones that I enjoy helping the most, and somebody that didn't get what they needed.
Yeah, definitely, and there's no shortage of those situations.
Not at all.
And yeah.
So I guess we'll get close to this here. One of the things I want to touch on, if you are running into some stuff that's going to be legal, get a hold of me, get a hold of Caden here. Reach out to us. We'd be happy to help. If you still haven't got your projects done, let us know. Obviously, that's what we do. And then if it becomes an issue, this is who I will reach out to myself. I actually have a homeowner right now I'm going to look at today on a large loss, and that's my goal, is to, somebody else had it and they weren't able to help them. I admit that I'm not going to try to legally fix it. I'm going to reach out to somebody that can do that legally. And so if you're a homeowner out there right now and you feel that your contractor or maybe you have a public adjuster that's just not doing his job. I mean, it happens, right?
Yeah, we've gotten some referrals from public adjusters. Yeah.
Reach out to us and let us know. I appreciate your time, and thank you.
Thank you.
Your home exterior experts. Call on Young Construction.